Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for joining us. It's noon Eastern time. Today, we're going to be covering how HubSpot templates can empower your marketing growth in 2017. I just want to make sure everyone can hear me right now. So if you could, just please give a little thumbs up in that chat pane, say yes. And just want to do a quick sound check. Great. Thank you. Let's get going here. I want to introduce myself. I'm Joe Jerome. You can follow me on Twitter @WebInbound. I am the founder of Brand Builder Solutions. We've been in business for over a decade, if you can believe that. And we became a HubSpot partner in 2011. And we've always been supporting the HubSpot community in an area of converting more people on the site. We've also been one of the first groups to participate in the HubSpot template marketplace. That's where many of you may know us, but we also do website design, large and small, primarily for HubSpot customers interested in doing growing their business through online, through lead conversion. So we've put a lot of time in today's presentation. We're very excited to do it, and we hope you are too and get a lot of value. So here we go. Today's agenda. Well, we did our introduction. We're going to talk about who this webinar is for, workshop series overview, what is a template, 1994 to 2017. We're going to cover that in 1 minute. Less code, more action, template mindset, crush your competition, and then we're going to open it up to a Q&A. We are here to save you time, not waste it. That is the point of templates. So I'm going to come in and tell you who this is for. We got so many great questions. I think we got 150 questions here, which has been amazing. I'm very thankful for that. They've been all over the range to a certain extent, and a lot of people want a high-level overview, and I think that's a good place to start because even a lot of the technical questions we have kind of showed a little bit of confusion as to what a template is and kind of set the backdrop to a high-level overview. Not to worry, though. Some of these questions we have that are a little bit more detailed, like how to edit locked modules, things like that, we're going to be answering in a template workshop series. So if you are into the nitty-gritty on this and into some strategic stuff, we have the link right up there. It's also on our Twitter. If you follow us at that Twitter handle right in the top right corner, we have that link to that workshop series, and I recommend you sign up for that right now. It is first come, first served, but we're going to cover questions like how to edit locked modules, best way to update and organize CSS on the templates, and questions like can you create different layouts for different breakpoints, mobile versus tablet, which you can do. We can answer that quickly, but not so sure why too many people would focus on tablets these days. So sign up for that now and share it with the other people in your office who may, and on your team, who may be more interested in that deeper dive. It's going to be a great series, and it's for free. It may not always be for free, but for now, our plan is to keep giving out. So we're going to start this out with a little perspective. And as we start out with perspective here, we're going to cover what is a template, right? That sounds really basic, but I think it's really important to get into. When you hear website template, most of us think WordPress. 60% or more sites are on WordPress. But WordPress templates are really themes. And those themes do contain templates and a few other things. But WordPress was designed to be a blogging platform. And as a CMS, WordPress has been what we call MacGyvered. So if you're about as old as I am, you probably remember the hit series show MacGyver. And MacGyver would take on these really hard challenges by using bubblegum and duct tape. And that's kind of how WordPress has been. It's gotten the job done and been modified over time. And sometimes there's problems with WordPress, right? The themes overpromise, the simplicity, and a lot of folks that may have seen this as they've unloaded their WordPress packages. And a lot of times WordPress plugins can cause more harm than good. And these days, we can't have plugins or slow load times affect us because as the Google algorithms changed, speed is what we're being rewarded for in Google. Great news is HubSpot templates are not themes, and that's a good thing. What you see is what you get. So when a HubSpot template is deployed, it looks like a page. And the fact that it looks like a page can sometimes be very confusing in terms of the difference between pages and templates. So a lot of people are asking right now for the link to register. And that link to register you can find by following us on Twitter. And again, we're going to put that link to register at the end of this presentation as well. So as we continue to go through here, and all questions as you have them, I want to let you know we're going to get to them probably in about 15, 20 minutes or less, right before we open this up to the Q&A. So any questions you have, just feel free to keep putting them in the chat window. We'll get to them towards the end here. Thank you. So getting back to the HubSpot templates, they're engineered, right? So HubSpot is a great company. Many of us love them, and they really keep us in mind when they design stuff, which is awesome. If everyone's been using their sales tool and have used Salesforce in the past, you realize how focused they are on making things really good for us. So they've done the same thing here with how they've designed their website platform. So when we get to the confusion between templates sometimes and pages as HubSpot users, when do I need to be a coder? When don't I need to be a coder? Many of you are familiar with this view, page editor versus the template editor, right? So what we're going to be talking today is about templates and when it's best to use them versus pages. Okay, so to give a little background on why HubSpot templates have been engineered, we're going to go through time here. Right about 1 minute, we're going to go through 1994 to 2017, how things have changed. Because that's changed how we look at templates, how we as marketers and salespeople and business development folks and designers approach how we handle our campaigns and how we handle our website. So we're going to go through a quick history here in about 1 minute. If everyone is as old as me, 1994, I was a sophomore at the University of Delaware. And that's really where, if anyone can remember, who's been around as long as I have, if not longer, Netscape came up and you're in the age of dial-up. And Dreamweaver, that's where you made your websites, and your websites were hosted on servers. Sometimes people complain about the price of HubSpot, but these servers did really very little, and they were many times often just to serve a website $1,000 a month for your server. 2000, what's Google? You weren't Googling anything, so you couldn't get the answer to what's Google because you couldn't Google it. It was around, but it wasn't really being used as much. 2003, blogging started. It wasn't being used that much, right? HubSpot as a platform came out in 2006, where it really started looking at using this as a way to drive business. 2005 was the end of dial-up. Now, this doesn't sound like it's that long ago because we're so used to living this way. 2007 was the first iPhone, right? No one had this iPhone. This is the iPhone 1. 2007 is also not when Facebook started, but when people started using Facebook. In 2010, the question was, is WordPress a CMS? This is when WordPress started transitioning from a blogging engine into a content management system. So people started getting used to making websites on content management systems. In 2011, Twitter came, and this was the social boom, right? This is when a lot of us got involved with HubSpot. We wanted to drive our businesses through social media. The buzzwords are flying around. And 2013 is when we had wide-scale adoption of mobile and social and everyone transacting through websites. Even grandma is on Facebook at this point. In 2013, a lot of people are familiar with Squarespace. This is when anybody could make a website through the use of templates. Maybe not as sophisticated, not as growth-oriented as HubSpot, but it was really where we took the code and the design out of a lot of the process. 2013 inbound. We were there. We were lucky enough to actually have one of the first templates on the marketplace debut at inbound 2013. That was also when the HubSpot was known as the COS, or the HubSpot website platform, was announced. In 2016, probably early on 2016, late 2015 is when we started talking about growth-driven design. So for those of you who are really in the HubSpot community, you might know Luke Summerfield. And this is an iterative approach to design. This is the next wave. So this sets us up for 2017. And when we look at our websites, we may be kind of stuck in the past, but here's who has made websites in the past based on this timeline, right? 1996 to 2000 was done by an IT professional. This was your, server nerd. He was the guy who was managing your web server, was writing your HTML code. In 2001, 2010, again, with the use of Dreamweaver and all those good programs, you get someone who knew a little bit of code, someone who Photoshop. They patch things out of Photoshop, combine them with code, and make your website. So the sites were made with a developer and a designer. In 2010, with WordPress, mobile design, mobile devices, social, we got into the web designer. It's kind of a hybrid of the developer and designer, right? It's a new kind of person who entered the market, who we turned to, but they weren't always strategically oriented. And we now realize, as HubSpot users and members of the community, that the website is your salesperson, right? And I think at this past inbound, Brian Halligan said the salespeople now support the website versus the website supporting the sales team. So in 2017, many of you who are on this call today, you are members of strategic teams who are led to drive the growth of your company online. You are now the people who make websites. And this is why templates are important. This is why knowing the balance of code versus not using code is very important, because you need rapid deployment to stay ahead of the competition. So we're going to get to our section now. Less code, more action. Like the old adage, less talk, more action. Less code creates more action. So we got to talk about day in the life of a marketer, day in the life of a CEO, day in the life of anyone who's in HubSpot generating business. We had a great question that came through. Where do you start? I find templates overwhelming and a little bit of an issue with cloning old ones. There's a little bit of knowledge. So our marketers today and people who are driving business growth on platforms have a lot thrown at them. Things are changing quickly, and their days are busy, and they find themselves overwhelmed. They really don't need one more thing to think about because it's pretty hectic and pretty competitive. So again, less code means more action. Where do we get into development type issues? Well, that's in our campaigns, in our emails that go to landing pages, our thank you. We have to worry about creating workflows, generating lists. There's a lot involved, so we really don't want code slowing us down. And if we get too involved in the code, we're not sending out the campaigns in the frequency we need to and getting the success metrics we need. The other big pain point for marketers and those that are driving business development growth are site refreshes. I like the beginning of this quote because I hear it all the time, and it is dramatic. I'm woefully tired of my website. It's beginning to look extremely dated. And that website might only be 5 years old, and they're probably totally right. And preference to use templates. But it's the question, can I switch them out without trashing my site? So when it comes to site refresh and the growth-driven design movement, I'm not going to get into all the details. It could get very complex, but we can launch sites within weeks, not months now, and taking an iterative approach, because when you have the right balance of coding versus actually making things, in this movement, we're talking about iterative design. So you're not going to be doing updates every 2-3 years. You're going to constantly and consistently be updating your site. So as you've blogged consistently, as you've put out your campaigns consistently, you are going to be paying attention to your users' behavior, your buyers, and update those important pages consistently. So the more you get into code, the less you're going to be able to do that. Here's the deal, and this is why it's good we're moving in this direction. Bottom line is technology gets in the way of growth. As you know, technical problems like plugins, messy code, going to your IT department, trying to deal with your webmaster, and not being able to edit things efficiently, results in marketing problems. Like we talked about, you need things to change quickly, and there's only so much time in the day. If you are not able to drive your sales and marketing efforts with inbound effectively and have that speed of light response and connect with your buyers in real time, you're going to have growth problems. So how do templates impact growth? Well, we're going to get into a few of the details real quickly here on how templates fix technical problems. So if you're fixing the technical problems, you're fixing growth problems. There's always less coding and testing with templates, especially templates used off of the HubSpot marketplace, and that's for one reason. They have to go through extreme vetting, right? Well, did I use the word extreme vetting? I'm not talking politics here, by the way, but they do get tested quite a bit by the team over at HubSpot, and they have to be submitted and approved before being released. That doesn't mean the documentation is the same for every template provider. It doesn't mean every template provider is not just going to make a template and walk away. Some are different than others. But the quality of the template goes through a quality control process. So we did receive questions like, yeah, my template has a bunch of HTML in it. Well, who knows who made it, right? Just because you can make a template doesn't mean it's going to do what it needs to do. So, you know, there are some benefits by going through the marketplace and using templates on the quality control side as well. The other great benefit on a technical perspective is the design process is transferable to what you say lower skilled users. Again, they're all packaged up and you can get that one-page deployment with a click. So, you know, we do fix the marketing problems by fixing the template by the technical problems, but there are some other marketing problems fixed by templates as well. There are many templates out there that are available, either in your library that you've built over time or in these marketplaces. Then these templates are built on and based on context. So if you are launching your next webinar campaign, you can go and find a readily available webinar template, which speeds up your process. You can also get your ebook, email, your ebook template, your homepage template, and there's a variety of templates based on context that help marketers require you to think less and incorporate some of those best practices. And the inventory of these templates are increasing day by day and are now getting verticalized. So if you are in a software tech company, you're going to start seeing templates based on best practice and best results specifically for your industry. It also creates consistency for campaigns. They're quicker and it gives you way more independence, which is what you need to get the job done. Again, it impacts growth. And really, when you benefit the buyer, you're impacting growth. And today, our buyers want to find out information from us in real time. It also increases production. And a very important part of it now is with AI and bots and all these things we're hearing about. There's some practices you want if you're using chat, if you're using search, you want to start capturing the questions. One great proponent in the community has been Marcus Sheridan, and when he talks about site design, he talks about answering a lot of questions, right? So we want to answer questions on our site. So by being able to use templates and rapid deployment, we can increase our feedback loop with our buyers through the site on scale. Very important piece of how we're going to crush our competition in the future, getting the questions. And there's going to be more focus when that happens on optimizing our sites for engagement, which leads to more leads. But really, if you go back to that timeline we had, we know when we think back, if I was the first person in my industry to hit this keyword now that I'm struggling to get, if I did that back in 2005, I wouldn't even have to use any of the effort I'm using now. I had the first mover advantage. Well, by starting to get into this real-time, quick response, marketing empowered web design format, you are ready for the future, right? So you are ahead by adopting this mindset. And that's the template mindset. But a great question, another good one. What do I do? This is very common. A lot of you may be shaking your heads. What do I do if a template change is so minor that contacting a designer is excessive, but just a little more than I can figure out? This happens a lot. So it's really kind of like, when do I get into the template editor? When do I get into the page editor? You know, HubSpot says these are drag and drop, which is true, which does make it easier, but it kind of makes it easier for, you know, folks more on the development side. Not quite as drag and drop. So some of the ease and simplicity is on the page editor side versus the template editor side. So it's always confusing, is where do I find that balance? So we've actually had a few people come in and say, I know enough about code to make me dangerous. And that, in fact, does make you dangerous, especially if you're going back on the template. But you can use your knowledge of CSS and styling on the HubSpot page editor, which actually is pretty robust. We're going to cover some of those topics in our workshop, but it is finding the balance. So the key to finding the balance is eliminating as much code in the process as you can. Really funny question came in, and I almost didn't want to answer it, but it was like, what are the 3 golden rules of templates? I'm like, what is this, like you just being funny? And it got us thinking. So we actually took this and kind of ran with it. You know, 3 is always an arbitrary number, but kind of developed 3 golden rules, because there are a lot of folks who know that using templates and HubSpot's easy, but there's a lot of confusion on the front end. So we boiled it down to 3 golden rules to get the best outcome. First rule would be minimize development, with rule number 1. It's not about what you want when you're designing. It's about what your buyer wants, right? So we don't want to over design. We want to consider the buyer in their journey, incorporate that feedback loop, use analytical tools, give the buyer what they want. You know, how many people go to websites for the first time? Someone hands you your business card. They say, here's what I do. They go to your website, and there's like this fancy picture in the banner and a bunch of slogans, and you're like going through the site, you're like, I don't know what they do. That was a site designed by someone who wanted to put up what they wanted, but not what their buyer wanted. So when you're focused more on what your buyer wants, you're not as focused on, you know, high-end design and, you know, flashy buttons and all those things that we tend to think as traditional marketers we need. We really need to focus about where the buyer is going and what they're looking at. And a lot of that has to do with what's coming out of your brain and not what's coming off your hands technically. Goal rule number 2 is avoid the rabbit holes, right? How long is that? That's such a big part of all of our days right now, is just going down these rabbit holes. So best word of advice, from doing this many times, is don't let this become a hobby. You know, they call this I always wanted to be a fireman syndrome, right? We all love code. We find this interesting, but sometimes we get into a project as a business owner, as a marketer, we sometimes like say, oh, I want to learn all these things. I want to learn about CSS, but that's going to just totally get you in the weeds and not utilize all those great features and all those great things you can be doing. So the key is aim for the target. When you are creating a page, you're creating a campaign, figure out what you want to do and get there the quickest way. Templates help. Using the right resources help, but don't try to learn it all, right? Unless you want to become a web designer. Right? You're a marketer, be a marketer. And that's why we have these tools here for you. Hopefully a lot of you are shaking your head going, yeah, you kind of called me out on that. I get it. Rule number 3 is really going to just try to increase growth. And this is a quote by Steve Jobs. I don't know if we got this exact, but basically design isn't what it looks like. Design is how it works. So again, functionality is key. And that's going to keep you, all 3 of these golden rules are going to keep you out of the weeds in terms of code. So our ultimate goal, right? We invest a lot here as a HubSpot community by being ahead of the curve. And our goal is to crush our competition, right? To project bigger than we are and take on the big guy. You know, what we learned from 1994 to 2017, basically, again, getting into those, if you're in things early enough, if you don't get on the bus, you get run over by the bus. You don't have a choice. So if you believe in these mindsets and you believe in the products that we use and you believe in what we're saying here, all you need to do is act. So we're going to do some things to help you take more action and be more self-directed in this whole endeavor. And one thing you got to remember is you are already ahead by being with HubSpot. You are so far ahead of everyone. But you know, more HubSpot users are coming on every day. More people are using inbound marketing. More people are getting into this rapid design process. So don't squander the tools you have and the resources you have by trying to do it all on your own when you shouldn't be, or getting too deep in the weeds with code. And also don't limit action out of fear. I can't tell you how many times we can be working with HubSpot with someone and they don't have their campaign set up, they don't have their customers in there. I think a lot of times that's from just kind of being afraid to ask what we think is a stupid question. There are no stupid questions. There's only stupid results. And we just don't want to limit action out of fear. So we're going to try to help you with conquering some of the fear in these areas. Again, another thing, don't guess, ask. Don't be afraid to get guidance. Just because it's a template doesn't mean you've got to do it alone. And we have some available resources. Again, this whole slide deck will be shared, and we will also post this out on social channels. We do have a template FAQ wiki. We're using a really neat tool called Tetra for that. And a lot of your questions are continuing to be answered in that wiki. We also have customization resources, which you can use for our templates or anyone else's, really. And the last big announcement is we are just so grateful for getting so many great questions here on this. And we've had an opportunity to work with so many people that we've decided, as we've gone through this initial webinar, that we are going to bring in these workshops. And again, there's the link. I know a lot of folks have been asking for this link. Again, it's on our social channel. You can follow us at that Twitter handle. That link is posted. I ask you to register now. These workshops, we're developing the curriculum now and will be launched shortly based on a lot of your feedback. But they're really there to answer the strategic questions and growth questions about using HubSpot and the website platform, but also the technical questions. So we're gonna have some one-on-one coaching and some group workshops that we're gonna make available. We're really looking forward to it. It's gonna be a series because there's a lot to learn. We're about to wrap up here, approaching 1 o'clock. Feel free to hit us on our social channels. We'll follow up with an email. And I definitely am excited about our workshops. Again, you can sign up for them with a link. And hope you all enjoyed today. And hopefully we made the right move by keeping it a high-level overview today for you. And then hoping you get a lot of value out of our workshops. And we are going to take 2 home pages from who we select. We're going to have to arrange how we do this. And we're going to put that in our first workshop, and we're going to invite everyone back. So we'll send an email out, be on the lookout for it, and we'll give you a link to register for that. I think that'd be a great, great thing for our first workshop, and we'll give you a little bit of value back. So I just want to thank everyone for giving us your hour today. We look forward to doing more of this, and this has been really just a lot of fun, and grateful for your interaction today.